Okay, the purpose of this video is to provide you with some information on what not to do during your poster assessment, specifically when designing your poster. So this is a random example that I've designed and put together to show you some of the things not to do. There are a couple of things on here that are worth doing, but this is generally a very bad poster. Before we go any further though, it's worth mentioning that there are other key issues that you should address in order to make sure that you are able to do your best on the day. Knowing what time you are presenting would be the first one, so making sure that you've looked at the assessment running order on Brightspace. Make sure you know what it is you have to do, what the assessment is asking you to do. Which I'll cover now. The assessment is specifically asking you to discuss the adaptations, the anatomical adaptations, that means the structural adaptations that occur to chosen organ systems in response to exercise. That can be short-term exercise, it can be long-term exercise, and that can be exercise type of your choice, aerobic, resistance, whatever that may be. But you need to make sure that you absolutely have that clear before you start designing your poster and gathering information. Another point to bear in mind is that, and this is going to sound somewhat contradictory, you should not spend too much time designing your poster. The assessment is broken down into three parts really. You have the content of the information that you deliver, your presentation style, and the poster itself. And the actual poster is what contributes least to your grade. So I'm not saying don't put effort in. I'm not saying just I'll bosh something together in 10 minutes, half an hour before I have to present it. That'll do. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying make sure that you don't spend too much time on it. That's the important thing. The content of what you say and the quality of how you present are the most important things once you've got your poster exactly how you want it. So the purpose of this, as we said, was to look at things not to do, and there are many examples of things in here not to do. First and foremost, there's no title. What are you presenting? What is it going to be about? It's also nice to have your name on there somewhere in lower case font, but in there somewhere. This is just a poster of nothingness at the moment. As I say, this is my poster. This is one I deliberately did badly, so I'm not picking on any students here, but this is sort of key fundamental things that you need to do to make sure your poster is as effective as possible. Remember that your poster and the images that you should use in it are supposed to support what you're saying and supposed to add to it. When you're trying to explain something that's maybe a bit complex or a bit abstract and you think, well, I need an image to help me explain what this is, that's when you should add an image to your poster. You don't, for example, need an entire skeleton with all of the muscles on as I've presented here, because it's too much. You're not going to be talking about everything in the anatomy here that we have in the middle here. So why have it on there? It's just taking up space. So if we go clockwise, starting in the top left-hand corner, this image is okay. It would be nice if it had a reference attached to it, but it's okay. It's showing the adaptations that occur in response to isolation versus compound exercise on bone mineral density. So this is alright. This isn't a bad start. And what I've done is I've colour coded the topic. So everything in blue is the skeletal system, everything in red is the muscular system, and everything in yellow is the nervous system. But apart from having a border around the images, there's no way that you'd know this other than me explaining it, which again wastes time. You could perhaps have an image in the center that just shows a bone or a muscle or a piece of nervous tissue to illustrate that what each topic is referring to. So moving on from there. This image here of a cross-section through muscle tissue. Again, it'd be nice if it had a reference, but never mind. There's nothing wrong with it per se, but it is showing fairly basic information, and it's not showing an adaptation to exercise. The image on the left of the femur and the neck of the femur specifically is showing the difference in different types of training, different adaptations in different types of training. This is just showing a standard anatomical cross-section of skeletal muscle, which is not an effective use of that space in your poster. It's not wrong per se, but it's not effective as it could be. Now the section below this, where there is a lot of text, which I'll be honest, I copy and pasted from Wikipedia, is again not effective because it's copied from Wikipedia, and two, it's a load of text which no one is going to read text whilst you're talking. Your presenters don't want to have to read and listen to you at the same time because it won't work fundamentally. Therefore, avoid big blocks of text like this at all costs. It's far better if you just sort of say this information, if you talk it through. Remember that you mustn't read off a script when it comes to your presentation day, because all you're doing is showing us that you can talk, but it's okay to have presentation cards with you on the day, and you know, anything like that that you find useful, sort of bullet pointed notes, that's fine, just to prompt you. But you should use your poster as a prompt. You should have that open as in a separate screen or next to the screen that you'll be talking to me on, and just use it as a prompt, just to remind you, right, what am I going to talk about? Okay, I'm going to talk about muscle tissue and how that adapts to resistance exercise. Fine. In the bottom right we have 3 images which are great. Again, perfect, nothing wrong with them. These are actually very good, but they are very small images. What I've done is grouped 3 images here, which whilst they're good, and they actually have a reference with them, which is nice, they're not presented very well. They're hard to see. It's very difficult to make out what's going on in these images because I've grouped these 3 images together. It would be far better to remove that big block of text, move these 3 images upwards and make them a bit bigger so they're easier to see, or possibly even remove one of them. And, you know, are they all necessary? Is there another way that you could perhaps present them in a way that doesn't that makes it a bit clearer? You've got to think about the clarity of the image that you're presenting. Bottom left, this is an example of an image that I've taken from Men's Health, and you can see this. So 1, it's a very inappropriate resource. 2, shock your muscles to size. What use is this? All I have here is a title, some sort of subtext, an image of a person being electrocuted, it would seem. This isn't showing anything of any worth. This is a completely useless image, and I can say that because it's my poster. But this is showing me absolutely nothing of any value whatsoever. And then moving up to the final image, we have a diagram of the cell signaling process involved in skeletal muscle hypertrophy, which at first glance you think, oh, okay, nice, that's useful. But there is an awful lot going on in this image. There's far too much going on in this image. There would be no way you would talk about this, all of the content in this image. If you were going to talk about this image on the middle left, then that would be it would take the entirety of the poster to do it any justice. And secondly, it's physiology based content, it's not anatomical content, so therefore it's not appropriate. So this poster, its main issues, just to recap, are title and the basics. You know, the poster maker's name and a title for the poster are missing, and therefore that's just, if the fundamentals aren't there, it's not, you're not starting very strongly. Some of the images are okay, they're acceptable, but they could be more effective. Some are from, or one at least, is from a completely irrelevant source, i.e. the shock your muscles to size. Big blocks of text are atrocious, that's a no-no. Make sure you don't clump images together so much that you can't see what's going on. Make sure you select anatomically relevant images, not physiological images like the MTOR pathway that we've got here on the middle left. And make sure that the image that you are presenting, you're going to get some mileage out of it. And by that I mean it's not just going to be something that you say, oh, here is this, this and this, and then move on. If you use an image, you want to be talking about that image for at least 2-3 minutes. Remember, you've got 20 minutes in this presentation, so you need each image to be worthwhile, to be valuable to you, so that you can actually get some meaningful content across and demonstrate your knowledge. So I hope that's helpful. What you're going to do now is have a look at some of the other posters that have been uploaded onto Brightspace for you, and take a look at those and see if you can spot some of the issues that are wrong with them.